The stars were silent, yet whispers moved between worlds like an unseen wind. Far out in the dark, alien travelers spoke of something hidden, something human. They laughed at it in their councils, but their voices never held full confidence. A ghost fleet, one alien commander said with a grin. A shadow army that never breathes. His officers chuckled, but their eyes darted at the scanner screens. Even in their pride, a seed of fear lived. One younger officer leaned closer and whispered, "But if the whispers are true, if humans really hide a fleet in the void, what will happen if it wakes?" The commander waved his hand. "Then we will crush them as we crushed others. Do not let fairy tales guide your duty." Yet when the ship moved forward, the empty black stretched too still, too heavy. It felt like someone unseen was watching. From the dark, across galaxies, rulers in their shining halls also whispered, "What if the fleet is real?" One ruler looked out at the stars and muttered to his advisor, "Legends only grow when they are born from truth. Maybe we are not ready for what sleeps there." The advisor shook his head. "We have armies. We have firepower. No fleet can scare us." But still he avoided the window, afraid of what his eyes might find. In one corner of space, near a cluster of dead suns, an alien patrol scanned the emptiness. At first they laughed when they saw strange static forming on their screens. "Just broken signals," said a pilot, tapping the console. But then the static shaped itself into lines, into patterns too perfect to be random. The crew exchanged nervous glances. "That is not natural," whispered the navigator. It feels like something alive, something moving." The captain narrowed his eyes. "Shut your mouths, it is nothing." Yet his voice cracked when the lights flickered and the scanners screamed with readings off the scale. Shadows appeared, long and massive, drifting without sound. "Multiple objects," the sensor officer said with trembling hands. "But they are not on any chart, not on any record." The crew pressed against the windows, but the black showed only more black. Then, slowly, a line of stars disappeared, swallowed by shapes too dark to belong. A low hum filled the patrol ship, not from their engines, but from outside, from something vast. The captain whispered, "This cannot be." His second-in-command said softly, "It is them." Silence fell across the crew. They all remembered the stories, the warnings told in A Secret. Humans do not show their power until the moment they choose. Then they do not speak, they do not negotiate, they only appear. The patrol ship turned to send a warning, but before their signal could leave, a deep voice echoed inside the comms. "You have seen enough." It was not the voice of their kind. It was human, strong and cold. The crew froze, staring at each other. "They are here," said the navigator in a whisper. The captain shouted, "Get us out of here now!" But the engines failed, the lights dimmed, and outside the black shapes glowed with fire. One after another, titanic warships came into view, human ships made of steel so vast they looked like floating cities. Their weapons shone but did not. Fire, their silence heavier than any storm. The crew dropped to their knees, unable to breathe. "Why are they waiting?" a young soldier asked, shaking. The captain could not answer. In another part of the galaxy, the warning finally arrived through broken static. Civilizations trembled as the message spread. The hidden fleet is real. The humans have returned. Panic rose in every council chamber. Leaders begged their advisors, "What can we do?" "We cannot face this," one council member shouted. "Send messages of peace. Send everything we can offer, treasures, planets, anything, but beg for mercy." And so they did. Countless messages fired across the stars. Some begged, some cried. Some promised loyalty, but the human fleet remained silent. Not a single answer, only the heavy glow of their ships. One alien leader looked at the sky and whispered, "Silence is the worst answer, for silence means judgment." On the patrol ship, the crew stared at the looming warships. The youngest soldier spoke, his voice breaking. "What do they want from us?" The human voice returned once more, calm and slow. "Nothing. That single word crushed every heart, for it meant humans did not come for trade or war. They came only to remind the galaxy who ruled the stars. The massive fleet shifted, their engines lighting the void like suns. Then, just as suddenly as they had appeared, they vanished into darkness, leaving no trace. The patrol crew collapsed in relief, yet their eyes were wide with terror. "They will come again," the captain whispered. "And when they do, none of us will be ready." Across the galaxy, rulers trembled, armies stood down, and prayers filled the air. The hidden fleet had shown itself, not with destruction, but with silence, and in that silence lay the greatest fear of all. The patrol ship drifted back to its station, its crew pale and silent. No one dared to speak of what they had seen, yet whispers spread like fire through every channel. In council chambers across the galaxy, leaders gathered with shaking hands. "You mean to tell us humans have hidden fleets this whole time?" One ruler demanded, his golden robe trembling as he slammed the table. The messenger bowed low, his voice thin. "Yes, my lord. We saw them with our own eyes. Ships larger than any city, weapons we cannot measure, and they did not fire. They only watched us, and then they disappeared." The room filled with frightened murmurs. An elder council member leaned forward, his voice breaking. "This is worse than war. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have fired, but they did not. Which means they wait, and waiting means something far darker." In another chamber, light years away, a different ruler rose. In from his throne, his long fingers curling around the armrest. "Prepare our fleet, strengthen the borders. We will not bow to ghosts." His advisor dared to whisper, "But sire, what if they are not ghosts? What if they are real? What if the stories were true all along?" The ruler turned away, but in his eyes lived a fear he would not show. Far out in the black, a convoy of alien warships tested the space where the humans had appeared. "Nothing here," said the captain. "The scanners show only emptiness, just as before." Yet one officer pointed at the stars. "Look, do you not see it?" The crew leaned closer, at first seeing only the natural dark, but then they noticed a faint shimmer, as though light bent and twisted against something invisible. "It is a cloaking field," whispered the navigator. "Something massive is hiding there," the captain shouted. "Pull back now!" But before they could move, the stars blinked again, one row at a time, swallowed by shadows. The officer screamed, "They are here!" One by one, human ships emerged, silent as before. Towering like mountains in the void, the alien fleet prepared weapons, their ships lighting with fire. "Open fire!" The captain cried. Missiles shot across the black, beams of energy tore through the dark. Yet when the explosions cleared, the human ships stood untouched, not a single scratch. Their shields glowed faintly, then dimmed, as if brushing away the attack like dust. "Impossible," gasped the weapons officer. The humans did not return fire, they only advanced, engines glowing brighter. The alien fleet broke ranks, panic spreading. "Fall back! Fall back!" shouted the commander. But the human ships moved faster, cutting them off. A voice echoed through every channel, calm and heavy. "You were warned!" The aliens dropped their weapons, their captains screaming for surrender. But the human fleet did not strike. They simply surrounded the aliens and then vanished, leaving the ships crippled and drifting. The galaxy shook when the survivors told the story. One emperor demanded answers. Why do they play with us? Why do they not finish what they start? A trembling scientist spoke. Perhaps their silence is their weapon. Perhaps fear is the war they choose to fight. Civilizations began to break. Armies refused to march. People rioted in the streets, praying to the stars. One alien mother told her child, "Sleep, little one, pray the humans do not look at us." And the child whispered back, "But mother, what if they already are?" In one distant star system, a small rebellion of aliens decided they would not bow. They planned to strike first, to capture what they thought was a single human scout ship hidden near their border. Their leader shouted, "This is our chance. We will show the galaxy humans can bleed." Their ships surrounded the lone shadow, weapons charged, but as they fired, the shadow unfolded, expanding into a colossal frame, not one ship but hundreds hidden within a single cloaking field. The rebels froze, their courage turned to dust. A human voice whispered into their comms, "Foolish." And then their ships powered down, every system dead, floating helpless. The humans vanished again, leaving nothing but silence. Back in the Grand Councils, rulers begged one another. What do they want? Why do they watch us but never speak? An old commander who had fought humans centuries ago leaned forward, his voice low. Humans never move without reason. If they wait, it is because they are choosing the moment, and when that moment comes, no one will be ready. Around him the room grew silent. Even the proudest rulers lowered their heads, for the galaxy had seen war before, but never had it seen silence so heavy it felt like chains around the heart. And so they waited, trembling, every eye on the stars, wondering if tonight would be the night the hidden fleet moved again. The galaxy grew restless, fear spreading like a disease no cure could stop. In every council chamber rulers argued, their voices trembling though they tried to hide it. One leader shouted, "We must form a united fleet. We cannot wait for humans to decide our fate." Another slammed the table. "Unite against them? Do you not see? They do not fight wars. They end them before they begin." The room fell silent when a messenger rushed in, his face pale. "News from the outer colonies. The humans have been seen again." Gasps filled the air. "What happened?" demanded the elder counselor. The messenger stammered, "A mining station vanished. The workers swear they saw ships appear in silence. Then all power went dark. When they woke, the station was gone from its orbit, pulled into the void as if it never existed." No one spoke. Fear gripped them all. In another star system, traders whispered in shadows. "I saw their ships," said one with wide eyes. "Metal so dark it ate the starlight. They did not fire, but they circled us, and then they left, leaving us shaking." His companion leaned closer. "Do you know why they leave us alive?" "Because fear spreads faster than blood." In the far reaches of the void, a young alien officer stood on the deck of a patrol ship, his hands shaking as he stared at the scanner. "Captain," he whispered, "there is something out there. Too large, too silent." The captain frowned. "We see nothing." The officer's voice cracked. "Look again." And then the stars blinked out one by one as enormous shapes slowly came into view. Human warships, darker than shadows, brighter than suns when their engines glowed. The crew froze, not even daring to breathe. "Send a message," the captain whispered. "Tell them we mean no harm." But before the message left, a voice filled the ship, strong and cold. "We do not care for your words." The crew panicked. One soldier cried, "What do they want from us?" The voice answered, "You will learn." Then silence returned, and the ships drifted back into the black. On another world, panic grew. Riots broke out in the streets, temples filled with prayers. Some shouted, "The end has come," while others whispered, "No, it is only the beginning." In one council chamber, a scientist stood trembling before the rulers. "I believe the humans are testing us," he said. "Each time they appear, they show power beyond measure, but they do not destroy. They only watch, and they wait. Which means there is something they want, something they are deciding." The ruler asked, "And what if they decide against us?" The scientist lowered his head. "Then no world will survive." Far away, in the ruins of an abandoned outpost, a group of alien rebels crept through the dark. They had a plan, a desperate one. "If we can capture even one human ship, we will learn their secrets. We will find their weakness," their leader said. His men nodded, fear in their eyes, but fire in their hearts. They set their trap, laying mines across a stretch of empty space. Soon a shadow appeared, a massive shape slipping through the void. "Now!" the leader shouted. The mines exploded, light ripped through the dark. For a moment they cheered, "We got them!" But when the smoke cleared, the human ship floated untouched, not a scratch on its surface. The rebels froze as more ships appeared, hundreds surrounding them. A deep voice rolled across their comms. "Fools!" In a single instant, every rebel ship went dark, their engines dead, their weapons silenced. They floated powerless as the human fleet closed in. The rebel leader whispered, "Why do they not kill us?" His second-in-command answered, "Because fear is stronger than death." Then the humans vanished again, leaving the rebels stranded in silence. When news of their failure reached the galaxy, hope broke like glass. "We cannot fight them." Leaders cried, "We cannot run, we cannot hide." One desperate voice shouted in a council, "Then we must kneel, we must beg before it is too late." But another voice rose, quiet but strong. And if they never wanted mercy, if mercy was never an option, silence fell. For no one had an answer. That night across 1,000 worlds, people stared at the stars with dread, wondering if the next shadow to fall across their sky would be the fleet. In the dark void, hidden from all eyes, the human ships moved in silence, their engines humming like thunder beneath the stars. And deep within the largest vessel, a voice spoke softly, "They are almost ready." Another voice answered, calm and firm, "Then we will decide." And the ship slipped deeper into the black, waiting for the moment the galaxy feared most. Across the galaxy, fear had become stronger than laws, stronger than armies. On one world, soldiers dropped their weapons, refusing to fight. What is the point? One asked, no blade, no beam can touch them. On another planet, rulers begged their people to stay calm, but riots filled the streets, temples burned with prayers, and families huddled in silence, afraid to even look at the stars. In the Grand Council of the Allied Worlds, leaders shouted at each other, their voices breaking with panic. "We must find them before they find us." One cried, "If we wait, we are already dead." Another slammed his fist, "You cannot find shadows, you cannot fight ghosts." The room went quiet when an elder rose, his face pale, his eyes heavy with old memories. "You do not understand," he said. "I fought humans once, long ago. I saw their ships, their fire, but that was nothing compared to this. Now they hide entire fleets. They do not just fight wars, they control fear itself." Gasps filled the chamber. A young leader shouted, "Then what do we do?" The elder shook his head. "Pray they do not choose us first." Far out in the void, a group of explorers moved through empty space, hoping to find trade routes untouched by war. Their captain laughed nervously. "These stories are only legends. If humans truly had such power, why would they not have ruled the galaxy long ago?" His navigator whispered, "Maybe they already do, maybe we just did not see it." Suddenly their scanners screamed with impossible readings. "Multiple signals," the officer stammered, "but they are everywhere. Too large, too fast." The crew ran to the windows, and there they saw them, dark shapes unfolding from the black, human ships, larger than anything they had ever seen. The captain whispered, "By the stars!" His crew begged, "Send a signal, tell them we are harmless." The captain sent the message, his hands shaking, but the only reply was silence. Then a voice came, calm and low, "You have seen enough." The explorers dropped to the floor, their ship dead in space, power cut off as if an unseen hand had crushed it. Yet the humans did not fire, they did not destroy. Instead, the ships vanished again, slipping into the dark. The explorers floated helpless until rescue came, and when they returned, their stories spread across the stars like wildfire. In every home, families whispered, "They are everywhere, they see everything." In every throne room, rulers argued, "Why do they reveal themselves piece by piece? Why do they not strike?" A frightened voice answered, "Because striking would end fear, and fear is their weapon." On one desperate world, leaders gathered secretly. If we cannot fight them, perhaps we can speak to them, one suggested. We must beg for mercy. Send ambassadors, plead with whatever leaders they have, another hissed. Do you not see? They answer to no one. They send no faces, no diplomats, only silence. The youngest leader whispered, maybe silence is their answer. Still, in desperation, they launched ships filled with emissaries, carrying gifts and promises. Across the void, those ships called into the dark. Humans, hear us. We offer peace. We offer loyalty. Take what you want. Only spare us. But the black gave no reply. Days passed, then weeks, and the emissaries never returned. Their ships were found later drifting empty. No crew, no message, only silence. Councils shook with terror. One ruler shouted, "They are playing with us. We are insects under their gaze." Another whispered, "No, we are prey, and they are deciding when to strike." In the farthest corner of the galaxy, a warlord who had never bowed to anyone stood before his army. "I do not fear them," he roared. "If they bleed like us, they can die like us. We will be the first to strike back." His soldiers cheered, though fear cracked their voices. They launched a massive fleet, 1,000 ships, armed with every weapon known. They entered the black void, where humans had last appeared. They searched, but the stars remained silent. The warlord laughed. "See, only shadows." Then suddenly every star blinked out around them, replaced by walls of steel. The human fleet emerged, larger than anything they had imagined, weapons glowing but still silent. The warlord screamed, "Fire everything!" The galaxy watched as light filled the void, explosions brighter than suns. Yet when the light faded, the human ships floated unharmed, shields unbroken. The warlord's voice cracked with rage. "Again! Fire again!" But his ships began to die one by one, not from fire but from silence, their engines failing, their weapons shutting down as if unseen hands had turned every switch. His fleet floated powerless, surrounded on all sides. The warlord stared at the dark screens, whispering, "What are they?" Then a voice filled every ship, calm and terrible. "We are the reminder." The warlord fell to his knees, his soldiers crying out, begging for mercy. But the humans did not kill. Instead they vanished once more, leaving the fleet crippled, drifting helpless through the black. When news reached the galaxy, even the strongest rulers bowed their heads. One whispered, "They do not conquer with fire, they conquer with fear." Another said, "We are already conquered, and we never saw the chains." Across every world, people trembled, no longer asking if the humans would return, but when, and when that moment came, none would be ready. The galaxy had become a place of whispers. No one spoke loudly anymore, not even rulers in their golden halls. Every time someone looked at the stars, fear gripped their chest. Families told their children to stay inside at night, as if the humans could hear their voices through the windows. In the council chambers, leaders argued again, their faces pale and their words sharp. "We must unite, we must beg," cried one, his hands shaking. "They must have leaders, someone to reason with, someone who will hear our pleas." Another snapped back, "Do you not understand? They do not negotiate, they do not answer, they only watch, and silence is more powerful than any weapon." A third voice broke in, soft but desperate. "But why? Why do they not finish us if they are so strong? What do they wait for?" The chamber fell quiet. No one had an answer. On a distant mining world, workers stood frozen when the sky above them turned dark. At first they thought it was an eclipse. Then they saw the massive outlines of ships stretching across the horizon. People screamed, running through the streets. "It is them! It is the humans!" The ships hovered in silence, their engines glowing like burning suns. The governor of the planet rushed to the comms tower, his voice cracking as he transmitted, "Please, we surrender. We offer everything, just do not harm us." His words echoed into the void, But no reply came. The ship stayed for hours, motionless in the sky, and then vanished, leaving nothing but terror behind. The people fell to their knees, some crying, some praying. In another corner of the galaxy, a proud king gathered his armies. "We will not kneel," he roared. "We will not beg. We will stand and fight." His soldiers cheered, though fear clung to their voices. Days later, the human fleet appeared above his world, larger than his imagination could hold. His armies prepared, their weapons glowing. The king shouted from his balcony, "Fire!" The skies lit with beams and missiles, but the human ships remained untouched, shields invisible but absolute. Then, without firing a single shot, the humans shut down every weapon, every defense, every machine. The planet fell into silence, lights going dark, ships crashing from the sky. The king dropped to his knees, his crown falling from his head. His soldiers begged for mercy, but none came. The humans disappeared, leaving the world broken without a single strike. The story spread across the galaxy, fear turning into despair. "What do they want?" cried one ruler in council. "They do not conquer, they do not destroy, they only watch and break us with fear." A scientist stood trembling. "Perhaps this is their way of war, not to burn our planets, but to bend our hearts, to make us kneel before they even speak, in the shadows of a forgotten moon." Rebels plotted in secret. "We must find them first," their leader whispered. "We must follow the trails they leave, find their hidden base, and learn their weakness." His men nodded, fear in their eyes but fire in their words. They launched, stealth ships into the dark, tracing faint signals. For days they drifted, until one night the stars disappeared. Replaced by walls of steel and fire, the hidden fleet surrounded them, titanic ships blocking every escape. A voice filled their ships, cold and heavy. "You should not have searched for us," the rebels begged. "Wait, we only want to speak. We only want to understand." But their ships died one by one. Drifting silent and powerless, the humans did not destroy them. They only left them floating in the black, broken in spirit. On their return, the rebels whispered to their people, "They are everywhere, they hear everything, there is no place to hide." The galaxy trembled as hope withered. On one peaceful world, a child asked her mother, "Why are they doing this? Why do they scare us?" The mother held her close, whispering, "Because they want us to know they are gods." In the grandest council, rulers bowed their heads. One whispered, "Perhaps we are not living free. Perhaps we are already conquered." Silence fell as they realized the truth. They were prisoners of fear, bound not by chains but by shadows, in the void hidden deep where no eyes could reach. The human fleet waited, silent as always. Inside the command ship, voices spoke. "They tremble now. They beg without battle. The galaxy is on its knees," another voice replied, calm and certain. "Not yet. They must break further. Only then will they understand." And the ships drifted back into the darkness, patient as predators, while the galaxy shivered under the weight of silence. The galaxy had fallen into silence, not because peace had returned, but because fear had crushed every voice. Entire planets whispered instead of speaking, as if the humans might hear them through the stars. In council halls, rulers no longer argued. They only sat in silence, their faces pale, their hands shaking. One ruler finally spoke, his voice weak. "We are already conquered, though they have not fired a single shot." Another whispered back, "Yes, fear is the chain, and we wear it willingly." In distant colonies, children asked their parents, "Why do we hide? Why do we kneel when no one has spoken to us?" And the parents answered with trembling words, "Because shadows decide our lives now." Far out in the void, a massive trade convoy carried food and supplies across the black. The captain of the lead ship tried to calm his crew. "Do not hear stories. They are only tales. Humans are gone. They will not come here." Yet his navigator whispered, But if they are gone, why do the stars feel wrong? Why does the dark feel heavy? Then the scanners screamed, shapes appeared, one after another, huge ships slipping from nothingness. Human warships surrounded the convoy, silent and cold. The crew screamed, "Please, we are only traders!" The captain sent desperate signals, begging for mercy, promising gifts. The only reply was a deep voice, "Your fear is enough." The human ships hovered, their weapons glowing like suns but never firing. Then they vanished, leaving the convoy adrift in silence. The traders returned broken, their voices shaking as they told their story. The galaxy trembled again. In the Grand Council chamber, rulers fell to their knees. One cried, "We must submit. We must offer our worlds before they take them by force," another whispered. "They do not want our worlds. They want our surrender of spirit, and that we have already given." Across the stars, temples filled with prayers, not to their old gods, but to the shadows that watched them. Some called the humans gods, others called them demons, but all agreed they were untouchable. In a hidden outpost, a desperate group of scholars gathered. "We must understand," said one. "Fear cannot be the only weapon. There must be a reason, something they want." Another whispered, "Maybe they test us. Maybe they wait for one mistake before they strike." The scholars built secret devices to track human signals, hoping to learn more. For weeks they searched the black, until one night the sky itself seemed to move. The hidden fleet appeared, endless and vast, surrounding the outpost. A voice filled their halls, calm and heavy. "You should not have looked." "Imperas," the scholars cried. "Please, we only seek to understand." "To know why you do this," the voice replied. "Because knowledge is fear, and fear is control." Then every device shut down, every light went dark. The outpost floated lifeless, and the scholars were never heard from again. When the news spread, the galaxy broke further. Even the strongest rulers now trembled. In one palace, a young prince asked his father, "Why do they not speak to us? Why do they not tell us what they want?" The old king lowered his head. "Because they do not need to. Their silence is our answer." Then came the final blow. On a bright world filled with towers of glass, millions of people looked up when the sky dimmed. At first they thought it was clouds, but then they saw the shapes, enormous ships stretching across the horizon. Human warships filled the sky, their shadows covering the cities. Panic erupted, people screamed, "This is the end." The rulers rushed to the comms, their voices breaking. "Please, we surrender, we kneel, take everything, only spare us." But the human fleet did not fire. They did not speak. They only hovered in silence. Hours passed, and the silence grew heavier, until finally one voice filled the air, echoing across the planet. "You were never free." The people fell to their knees, sobbing. The rulers collapsed in despair. Then the ships vanished, leaving the world broken in spirit. From that day forward, the galaxy no longer asked what the humans wanted because they understood. The humans did not come for land, or wealth, or conquest. They came for something greater, the surrender of fear itself. And as the hidden fleet drifted once more into the black, silent and eternal, every world trembled, for they knew the truth. Humanity had not just returned, humanity had claimed the stars without firing a single shot.